What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall market, and break down what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward. Some big news involving Tesla stock as we're getting some updates involving Saudi Arabia and the tariffs. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total. And the offer ends at the end of March in just 4 days. Anyways, as far as Tesla's going, I just want to mention that we got a bit of a sell off yesterday after we got some big news. President Trump announced that he wanted to increase tariffs on the auto industry. He also said he wants to increase tariffs on lumber and pharmaceuticals, and that is going to be a 25% tariff rate, which he said is going to be very permanent during his presidency. Now, that's what he said so far, but keep in mind, things could change depending on deals, negotiations. For now, that's what President Trump has said, and we're still waiting to see when they're officially imposed, especially as we approach the April 2nd deadline. So that's part of why the whole market saw a bit of a sell-off after we had Cash Curry giving a speech. This helped and contributed to why Tesla dipped alongside Canada withholding those rebates, so keep that in mind. So now what's happening is we're getting some good news for Tesla. Okay, the first thing is the fact that Tesla's announced that they're going to be once again expanding to host a launch event in April in Saudi Arabia, and they're planning on selling EVs and solar products, which could be very, very promising to help improve their revenue and such. So that's some big news that came out. We've been seeing a lot of talk about this, and then there was talk about how funding got secured back in like 2018, but it's been a while since we got this big launch event. So excuse me, it's very, very good news for Tesla, and this is part of why the share price is up just a little bit. And then there's also this news right here about the percentage of Tesla's involvement in the US, because a lot of their components for their products can be produced in the US to help them avoid a lot of tariffs, but not entirely, because of the fact that they still depend a lot on China for seats and different parts. So yeah, I would say that a large percentage of them, some of their models, such as like the Model X or the Cybertruck, they do still depend on like China and outsourcing, but for the Model 3 and Model Y, they depend a little bit less on that, and they could be produced more locally, which benefits them to a larger extent. Especially because many of their competitors are not in this advantageous place. So for their competitors, the tariffs will affect them more. Tesla will be affected a little bit less, but it still affects them, the tariffs on autos. So just keep that in mind. And for different parts, especially for the ones coming in China. But if anything, it does give Tesla a bit of an advantage because for other companies, it's very, very different. I'll talk more about that later on. Anyways, for today, it's Thursday, March 27th. Keep in mind, we have some GDP numbers coming out, or they just came out. Everything was very close to expectations. And keep in mind, even initial jobs claims is very close. So, in my opinion, everything's very close so far. The only thing is that if you look at GDP prices, those were a little bit elevated compared to before. But like I said before, everything's pretty much just close to expectations. Now, later on, we do have some Kansas Fed composites and manufacturing data at 11 o'clock a.m., but it's quite minor. And besides that, I'm not seeing anything else that's too crazy. So that's all I'm seeing on our economic calendar. Much of the data was decent. For earnings, this is what the calendar looks like. I'm not seeing anything else that's too crazy. And last but not least, just to do a little bit of a review, the market has been a little bit timid amidst the auto tariffs that President Trump announced. And then moving forward, we have the 25% tariff on cars made outside of the US. The new tariff is going to be imposed soon, according to President Trump. I'm not seeing anything else that's too crazy, at least for now. So just keep that in mind. So, with that being said, let's focus now on these charts. So, as far as Tesla's going, I just want to say that we've been making higher lows so far. However, we are trying to bounce a bit thanks to the Saudi Arabian news and also because of the fact that a report came out that Tesla's components are not all produced in China, right? A large percentage do come from the US. So it gives Tesla a bit of an advantage. So if this does help the share price try to push a bit, the question is, can we reclaim 280? And how high do we go? To be bullish, you need to see us try to break this high at this like 290 area. If we could break this, we could remain bullish. If we come short, if we kind of push a little bit, between 275 to 280. But then if we reject here, we could be making a lower high, and this could develop into like an inverse cup and handle. Okay, and that would take us back down to fill this gap over here around the 250 area if we get some kind of rejection. So for now, okay, we're looking to see an attempt to push a little higher for Tesla for the 275 to 278 area. And then we'll see if we could hold above 280. If we can't, there's going to be a risk of us returning to 272 or below. If that fails us, then we're looking for a move back down towards 264. So just keep that in mind. We're looking for a move like this on Tesla most likely. Watch to see how high it goes. Can we reclaim 280 or not? There might be a small push upon open, but then we'll see if we get some kind of rejection. So please be very, very careful with Tesla, at least for now. And see if we can break this higher or not. We might come a little bit short of breaking it. I think there's a good chance of that happening with the uncertainty about the tariffs. So look for an attempt to start off with this push. We need to break this high to remain bullish. If we come short, we're looking for a move like this, a move back down if we do see a temporary pump. For SPY, it's the same thing. We're flat right now. I am eyeing this gap down here at this 564 area. It's also aligning with this trend line. This is like a trend line for this bear flag. So you guys can see it just like this. So from the way I see things, right, I think that there is a chance that we do something like this where we consolidate a bit, but then there might be a risk of us dipping towards that 564 area. That would be completely normal. If we don't hold above 568, we could be looking for a move like that, and we'll see if we could hold support and try to rebound, or if we just continue to fall and the flag ends up panning out. We'll see about that. But I do anticipate that we might be retesting 564 soon. So let's see how it reacts to this 568 to 570 area. We might consolidate for a bit, but there's going to be a risk of us dipping for that 564 gap fill very soon. We'll see if we bounce off that or not. So please be very, very careful. On the QQQ, we need to hold above 485 to bounce. If we can't do that, there's going to be a risk of us returning towards, I would say, this like 480 area. If that doesn't hold, we're going to be at risk of dipping to 474. So make sure you watch your levels just to be safe. So watch 480 and 474 as two main supports. There's going to be a risk of us testing 480, and we'll see how it reacts. So keep that in mind. The Russell's trying to hold this yellow trend line. We'll have to see if this could hold above 206. If we reclaim 206.15, we're looking for a bounce back up towards the 208 area. If we don't hold above 206, we're going to be at risk of dipping to completely fill this gap and then dip towards like 202. So we'll see. I do think that there's going to be a risk of this rejecting. Still looks kind of weak here. Might push a bit and start turning back down to about 202. So be careful. On ES, we haven't hit the trend line yet. We're close. So this makes me suspect we might consolidate around 57.50 to 57.75. Then we could be dipping towards this trend line around 57.20. And then we'll see if we get a bounce off that or not to rebound for the 5800s. If not, we could be dipping towards 56.50. So watch that very closely. We're actually trying to make higher lows, and we could be dipping towards where this trend line is. So you want to be very, very careful. But if anything, please keep these levels in mind. We could be looking for a move like this to attempt a rebound move before it starts dipping towards the 57.20s. That's very, very possible as well. On NQ, we're trying to make higher lows, but one of the issues is that we have that gap down below and we're just barely holding 20,000. If we don't hold that, we could completely come down to fill this gap. We haven't done that yet, so there's going to be a risk of us retesting 20,100-ish before it dips to about 19,960. And we'll see if we bounce off that or not, if we reject. So watch that very, very closely, especially as time goes on. For Bitcoin, we're consolidating right now. We'll have to see if we can hold above 86,000 or not. So watch this range between 86 and 88,000. For Nvda, we got this rejection exactly as we predicted. We have a double top here. I said that if we didn't hold 150, I'm looking for this like 111 area. If that doesn't hold, we have a gap to fill towards 109. So it might dip a little bit lower, which could slow the QQQ down. So that's why I'm warning everyone to be kind of careful at Tesla. Although it might try to gap up and try to push a little higher from here, there's a risk it might make a lower high and continue to fall. So please keep that in mind. Apple's a little weak. We're going to be looking at the 220 area to see if it holds. If we could hold 220, this might attempt to rebound for like 223. If not, we could be looking for a big sell off towards like, the 217 area. So we want to be a little bit careful with that. For Coinbase, looking decent. We do have a gap to fill over here. If we can't hold above 195, we're looking for a risk for 190. For Amazon, we're a little bit weak as well. We're looking for 200 as the main support. If that holds, we could try to rebound. If not, we could be dipping for this gap fill for 196. For Meta, if we don't get back above 610, we're going to be at risk of dipping towards 596 to fill that gap. Microsoft is in the middle. We need to try to hold above 391. If not, we could be dipping towards 386. And Google, it might try to retest 167. We got to break past that to get to the 170s. If not, we could be looking for a push and then dip back down towards 165. Anyways, that's it for this one. The VIX is looking a little bit more bullish, but it depends on these different factors. The market is still very resilient, and Tesla's doing a good job at holding up. But we'll have to see what the reaction is as we try to push it a little bit higher. We'll see if we make a lower high here compared to this high, then this could turn back down. So please keep that in mind. Anyways, watch your levels closely, and I'll be back with another upload very soon. Thank you for listening, and peace out.